Today's message, I'd like you all to turn to the book of Luke, chapter 15, verses 25 to 32. You're all familiar with this section. It's talking about the prodigal son. We've heard so many messages about the prodigal son. And this section that we're dealing with today is the latter part of that story of the prodigal son, starting from verse 25. Chapter Luke 15, verse 25. And his eldest son was in the field, and as he came and drew near the house, he heard music and dancing. And he called one of the servants and asked him what these things meant. And he said to him, "Your brother has come, and your father has killed a fattened calf, because he has received him safe and sound." And he was angry and would not go in. Therefore his father came out and entreated him. And answering, he said to his father, "Lo, these many years I have served you, neither did I transgress your commandments at any time, and yet you never gave me a kid so that I could make merry with my friends. But when this son of yours comes, who has devoured your living with harlots, you have killed for him the fattened calf." And he said to him, "Son, you are always with me, and all that I have is yours. It is right that we should make merry and be glad for this. For this brother of yours was dead and is alive again, and was lost and is found." So we're all familiar with this story, as I said before, but in today's section we're going to look at the elder brother, not the younger brother, not the prodigal son, but the elder brother. And God is interested in all of us, in those of us who are far away, who have walked away from Him, and those of us who are in the family at all times. God looks at our heart. That's why He is interested in all of us. And very often people don't talk about the elder brother. We talk about the younger brother, but not the elder brother. And once some preachers were, it's a story and I like the story, some preachers were discussing this, and they were wondering, what did God mean when He talked about the elder brother? What was Jesus talking about? And one old preacher said, "I know who it is. In fact, I saw him yesterday." And everybody was intrigued, and they asked him, "Really? What are you talking about?" And he said, "Yes, he is me. The elder brother is me." So you see, he was a man who knew his heart. He was a man who knew his heart. And in this parable, Jesus is talking about the scribes and the Pharisees. He's talking about the scribes and the Pharisees, and he's telling us how they are lost. How they are lost. And this elder brother is a picture of such a person, just like the scribes and the Pharisees. Because the scribes and the Pharisees, you look at them, they are God's people. They are spending all their time studying the Word and teaching others and preaching to others. They are God's people. And yet, Jesus is telling us that they do not like what is happening in my kingdom. They don't like what is happening here. And so the scribes and the families have no real relationship with God. They don't have a real relationship with God. They look, everything is right, everything is fine, but they don't have a real relationship with God. And so actually they are in the far country. They are in the far country. So they're close to, the son is close to the father, in the family, doing the father's work, but in his heart, he is in the far country. So this message actually speaks to two groups of people. First of all, the message is to those who are lost in sin. That's the younger brother, right? The younger brother. And secondly, the message has a word for people who are saved but have the same spirit and attitude as the older brother. They're saved, but they have this kind of an ungrateful, unhappy, complaining attitude in their heart. And it's almost like they are upset that God is blessing others and not blessing them. It's almost like that. It's almost like that. They feel unloved and unblessed by the Lord. And such people don't like it when the prodigal son comes home. It's his own brother, but he's unhappy when his younger brother has come home. So people who refuse to rejoice over what God is doing because it isn't being done in their way, that's why they're unhappy. Because it's not being done as they want it to happen. And the truth is, all of us have a little bit of this elder brother in us. All of us have a little bit. So it was a wise preacher who said, I know him, I met him yesterday, because the elder brother is me. It is me. So, what do we call the elder brother? We can call him the unprodigal son, or we can call him the really prodigal son. Okay, so we can call him whatever we want. And that's what we're going to look at today. And so, what kind of position did he have in the family? He had a position of privilege in the family. He was the elder son. He was the elder son. And he's entitled to 2/3 of his father's possessions. He's entitled to 2/3 of his father's possessions. And in this case, we know that the younger brother has already taken his share. So whatever the father has comes to the elder son. So when his father dies, he gets everything. He'll also become the head of the family. So much has been given to this young man, and much more is on the way. He is a blessed person. So he's in a position of privilege. And he's also in a position of productivity. Productivity in the sense, because when we first hear about him, where is he? He's in the fields. He's taking care of his father's business. He's taking care of his father's business. He's not wasting time. He's taking care of his father's business. He's busy doing his father's business. His younger brother has cut ties with his father and has left the place and is squandering his father's money, but he is here in the father's family, doing his father's business, taking care of the family business. So he's in, as far as we're concerned, he has a good relationship with the father. That's what we think. We think that he has a good relationship with the father. And this is a good picture of the Pharisees, because they look the part. We have all these stories of Pharisees used to pray and how they used to dress, and we know so many things about Pharisees. So you look at them and they have a good relationship with God. And so they look good to men, but the problem was in their hearts. The problem was in their hearts. And this was the problem. They were lost and undone in sin, and the Lord knew it. There was sin in their life. There was sin in their life. And Almighty God knew it. And a lot of us understand this. I can understand this so clearly, because very often there is so much sin in my life. Where am I? I'm there on Sunday. I go to church, I preach, but in my heart of hearts, where do I stand with God? And I should be able to see that. I should be able to see that. I shouldn't brush it under the carpet. I shouldn't brush it under the carpet. Because Jesus always looks at the heart of people. Always looks at the heart of people. So we can fool everybody else, just like the Pharisees were fooling the whole country. But Jesus knew who they were. So that's just like us, We can fool everybody. We can be the good Christian, the nice Christian, the faithful. No, I can't use the word faithful, but good and nice. But are we faithful? That's what God sees. That's what God sees in our heart. And so we need to remember this. We need to remember this. And as far as the elder brother was concerned, he had a problem in his motives. From his conversation, we understand how twisted he is on the inside. So because when he hears that there's a celebration at home, and what's his reaction? He's angry. And he refuses to go in. So the servants tell him that your younger brother has come, he was lost and he's come. And he's angry when he hears that. He refuses to get involved in that. He stands outside. And his father comes and pleads with him. And what does he do? When his father comes and pleads with him, what does he do? In verse 29 now, we see that he reminds his father of his faithful service. That's what he does. I've been working for so long. I've never wasted money, and you never gave me anything to go and spend with my friends. And so that's what he tells his father. And this man, the bottom line is that this man did not care that his brother had come home. That passion for lost souls, it wasn't there. His own brother had come home and he didn't care. He only cared about his father not recognizing the great merit in his service. He didn't care about the fact that his lost brother had come home. He did not care about what pleased the Father. Number two, he did not care about what pleased the Father. And he did not care about the glory of the Father. He only cared about his own glory. Just look at this, three things, He did not care that his lost brother had come home. He did not care about what pleased his father. And he did not care about his father's glory. He could only care about his own glory. The recognition that he should have got, that he should get. That's all he cares about. So he did not even care about the Father. He did what he did for what he could get out of it. So you understand that what he did for the Father was not out of love for the Father. It was because he was aware that all this is going to be mine. All this is going to be mine. And so I might as well stay here and do my work. Nothing to do with his love for the Father. And he saw his service as slavery. Some translations use that word, slavery. That's how we describe it. I was here working like a slave from morning to evening. And what do you give me? That's what he asked his father. So he doesn't care about what his father wants. He doesn't care about his father's glory, his father's name. He doesn't care about anything. And very often this is the state with so many of us. This is the state with me, because you get tied up with what you're doing and you're just living from day to day. You've lost that long-term vision. Yeah, we have no vision. We're just living from day to day. And this is what happens to us. So we cannot rejoice when we see sinners are saved. We don't rejoice when the church grows. All we see is the power that we have, the importance that we have, that people respect me, that people look up to me. That is all we see, that is all we want. We don't see beyond that. We're in the church, God's church. And I have a great position in this church, and that's enough. We all become like that. So he doesn't care about anything. We just want the accolades and the pats on our back and the glory that comes with standing here and being connected with this. That's all we want. That's all we want. So the service in the church, my service in this church, in my church, is not about God. It is about my glory. You know, I give a message and somebody comes and tells me that that's a good message, and it immediately goes to my head. You know, a friend of mine, when I listened to a message of his, and after the message I shook him by hand. I said, that was a great message. And he says, I know that because the devil told me that before you. The devil told me that before you did. Right after I gave the message, the devil told me that's a good message. Because that's how we are. That's what human beings are. That's all we care about. And so I need to ask myself, what drives me to church? Why do I live the life that I am living? Why am I doing what I am doing? You know, Paul tells us that there should be only one valid motive. That's 1 Corinthians 10:31. This is what he says. He says, therefore, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. Simple. Whatever you do, even eating and drinking, for the glory of God. Simple. So he had a problem. He had a problem in his motives. He had a problem in his mentality. You know, his motives were wrong. His mentality was wrong. You know, when you look at him talking to his father, you see that he's proud, he's disrespectful, he's arrogant, he's defensive, he's angry. He's talking to the father who loves him, the father who has given him everything. And yet these are the emotions that come out. The disrespect, the arrogance, the defensiveness, and the anger. That's what comes out when he's talking to his own father. There's something very wrong with that. There's something very wrong with that. He should be overjoyed that his brother has returned safely from the far country. He should be rejoicing with the father that a lost son has come home again. But all he can do is complain and whine. That's all he can do. So what's his real problem? You know, we see that in verse 30. He says, look at this son of yours, he wasted everything, and he has come back, and you have never given me anything to celebrate with my friends. So he's jealous of his brother. So he may be at home in the body, but in his heart, in his mind, he's in the far country. So his younger brother was in the far country. His body and mind were in the far country, and that is where he suddenly understood what he was doing, and he changed his mind and he came back home. But the older brother has been and is in the far country. So where your body is doesn't make any difference. It's where your heart is, it's your mind is that matters. So that's all he wants to do. That's all he wants to do. That's all he can complain about. Nothing else. And this was exactly what was wrong with the Pharisees. This is exactly what was wrong with the Pharisees. They had nothing to do with God. Nothing to do with God. They had only an external appearance of being holy men, but their insides had nothing to do with God. So you don't have to be drunk. You don't have to be a drunk. You don't have to be an adulterer to be out of God's will. You don't have to be any of these things to be out of God's will. You can be in your church, you can sing in the choir, you can preach the word, and still be out of God's will. And that's what I've realized about myself so many times. I can be so far from God's will, even though I do all these things. Because all the resentment, all the anger, it's all in there, in my heart, So, looking pious and righteous is nothing. When your heart is full of malice, all that is wasted. Because God only looks at the heart. He doesn't look at anything else. He looks at the heart. Very often when somebody even, unforgiveness. That's what unforgiveness does. You're angry with somebody. Maybe what they did was wrong. What they did was bad. But I am carrying it in my heart. I haven't given it to Jesus. I haven't given it to Jesus and asked Him to wash it away. And no more pain, no more anger. I'm still carrying all that with me. And I call myself a man of God. But God always sees my heart. So I need to remember that, I shouldn't be in the heart, I shouldn't be in the far country. Because none of us are literally in the far country, we're all in the church, but in our hearts, because of unforgiveness and the bitterness that we're carrying around with us, we could be in the far country. Lust, anger, bitterness, all these things are putting us in the far country. So it's the condition of our heart that matters. The condition of our heart that matters. And we know that, the Bible talks about giving us a new life. That's what Jesus does. He gives us a new life. Whatever has happened to me, even if I've fallen 1,000 times, all I need to do is stand up and ask God to forgive me and wash me clean. That's all I need to do. It's so simple. It's so simple. And so I need to remember that. So this man had a problem in his mentality, a problem in his motives, and he had a problem in his methods. Because we see that he has no respect for the Father at all. He has no respect for the Father at all. You should remember that he is talking to the Father in the presence of the servants, maybe even in the presence of the guests, because hearing all this noise, even the guests might have come out. And he's talking to his Father in this fashion in front of all these people. So how much does he respect the Father? How much does he care about the Father? So even his methods are so terribly wrong. So terribly wrong. He attacked, he criticized, he blamed. That's what he does. So, what does your heart say about you? That's the question. What does our heart say about us? And, look at the way the Father is talking to him. The Father is actually pleading. The Father is begging him, come on, your brother who was lost has come back home. Let's rejoice, let's celebrate. His Father is begging him. And this is how he responds to the Father. He entreats him. That's what the Father does. He begs him. So the Father is pleading with him, and it was a petition of promise. He promises. He tells him that you have done all these things. You've done all these wonderful things, and I value what. In other words, what his Father is saying is, I value you and our relationship together more than I value your works. So your works don't matter. Your works are not important. It is this relationship between us that is most important. That is what I value most of all. But he doesn't have a relationship with the Father. He only knows about his works. He only knows about the wealth that his Father has and the work that he has done to hold on to that wealth. Where's the relationship? There is no relationship between him and his Father. And what the Father is telling him is, I don't care about any of those things. I only care about this relationship between us. And the boy didn't enjoy any fellowship with the Father. He was too wrapped up in his own legalism and narrow-mindedness. That's all. That's what he was. The boy wanted what the Father had. He did not want the Father. He wanted what the Father had. He did not want the Father. Or in other words, he did not want the giver, he wanted the gifts. That's all he wanted. He didn't want the giver. And he didn't want anyone else to have the Father either. He doesn't want the Father, and he doesn't want anybody else to have the Father either. Because he doesn't think that relationships are important. He doesn't see the importance of a relationship. So that was the tragedy of this man. And And so many people are like this, Why do many people go to church? Because they want an insurance policy. Not because they have an intimate relationship with God. What's the insurance policy? When the trumpet sounds, I need to get into heaven. Right? Isn't that true? That's what I want. That's what so many people want. In the end, I should jump from here to heaven. I shouldn't be judged for what I have done. I shouldn't be punished for what I am. That's why most of us go to church. That's why most of us go to church. Because we want an insurance policy. We don't want an intimate relationship with the Father. But the Father only wants an intimate relationship with us. And one thing to remember is that you are as close to the Lord as you want to be. Can you just think of that again? You are, or I am, as close to the Lord as I want to be. That's all. Because there is no limit. I can get as close as I want, but then I need to invest. I need to invest my time. I need to invest in that relationship. Then I get closer and closer and closer. So I will only be as close as I want to be. No shortcuts. No shortcuts. You can have as much fellowship with the Lord as you want to. You can have more if you want to. So you can have a very wonderful, close, vibrant relationship with the Lord. So the question is, do you want that kind of a relationship? Or do you just want an insurance policy? Do you just want wealth? Just want prayers answered? Or do you want that kind of relationship with God? And the Father, we said that the Father is pleading with him. It was a petition of pleading, it was a petition of promise, and it was a petition of priorities, the Father, when he was talking to him. Because the Father says that we should celebrate. We must celebrate. Why? Because something important has happened. Your son, your brother who was lost has come back. So that is what God rejoices over more than anything else. He owns the whole world. He owns everything in the world, but one soul is more important than anything, more important than everything as far as God is concerned. So God says that the Father says we should celebrate. Because your brother was dead and he's alive, he's lost and he's found. So this is the Father's love that we're talking about. So the Father wanted this boy to learn the truth that everything isn't about him and about him getting his own way. There are bigger issues at stake and they should take priority. And so what the brother had imagined himself to be is not important. His younger brother's soul, that is what is important. So we need to get our priorities right. Souls. That's why Jesus Christ came and died on the cross. That is why Immaculate God became a human being and died the death of a common criminal on a cross. To make that possible. To save souls. That is what is important as far as God is concerned. So nothing is more important for the glory of God. So God is glorified. His name is glorified when souls come to Him. When more and more people come to Him. So we just get upset when we don't get our way. We pray about something and it doesn't work out as we want it to work out and we're upset. We say, does God care for me? Has God forgotten me? I do it all the time. But God has a wonderful plan and I need to trust in Him. Because we want an insurance policy. We don't want an intimate relationship with the Father. But the Father only wants an intimate relationship with us. So, when you look at this, you see that everybody is happy. The Father is happy. The servants are happy. prodigal son is happy, but the elder brother is unhappy. The elder brother is unhappy because he's angry. That's why he's unhappy. He's miserable and he refuses to be happy. So the feast is there, the feast is going on, the celebration is going on, but he is standing outside and he refuses to get involved. He's standing out there pouting because he didn't get his way. Because he is not the center of attention. Until now he was the center of attention, but now his younger brother is. And as you can see, this is an open-ended story because the Bible doesn't tell us, did he go in, did he not go in. We leave him when he's standing outside and he's in this, he's full of anger and bitterness and unforgiveness. And he's standing outside. His father is calling him, the servants are calling him, but he's standing outside. And I think this is an open-ended story because each individual must write his or her own ending to that story. Because every moment of our lives, we have to stand with God. Now, God doesn't look at our history, our family's history. God looks at me where I am now. And that's all God cares about. I might be the member of a church, I might be a part of the choir, I might be giving messages, but where do I stand? Where do I stand with God? Where does my heart stand? So I can't stand there. I cannot stand there, and even very often people, we think we can live life in the neutral here. But even if I think I'm doing that, I'm actually saying no to God. I am denying God. So let's not fool ourselves. So as far as God is concerned, we give Him our all, or we give Him nothing. That's how it is. That's how. In conclusion, I just want to say this. We all know that we were all the prodigal son or daughter once. But are we the prodigal son or daughter now, at this moment, in my life, in your life? That's all what we need to ask ourselves.